When that's gone, I have no more revenue. I cannot pay my employees. I cannot pay my bills. I cannot pay the loans which I have leveraged my house against.
And you would absolutely vote for Trump again if it didn't affect you. These people must be smoking sheetrock if they think they're going to garner sympathy for simply voting against themselves. Pull yourself up by the goddamn bootstraps. I'm tired of the victim mentality of people acting like they don't understand what was going to happen when Donald Trump became president. He was on The Apprentice. He's a shamster. He's a swindler. The fact that you're trying to explain how you were so hoodwinked, duped, bamboozled by a tangerine is absolutely mind-blowing.
I'm gonna try really hard not to cry.
I'm sure every small business owner right now who voted for Donald J. Trump, they wish they can take their choices of the votes back. I've never seen any time in American history where white people became minorities. No, because on your own administration that you put into power, you have become minorities. Why? Because you decided to vote for DJT and he told you, I don't care about poor people. Now you're a small business owner, you are crying, you are suffering. The man is chilling, he's been in Dubai lately, he wants to start building Trump Gaza, he only cares about the billionaires. Now mother, do you really expect the blue side to help you out? If being in a complicated situation was a person, it will be MAGA voters right now that own small businesses. Hi Minnesota, how is it? How is it going? MAGA supporters, how do you feel about now? I keep on asking myself, is America great again yet? Because when people went to the ballot and chose this man, clearly they knew. See, the beauty of DJT, he's the devil. He never lies. He will tell you exactly. You trust me, I'm going with you straight to hell. You can't blame the man, he was so truthful.
So first, we've had small businesses tell us that it's not foreign exporters who are eating the tariffs, it's them. And they've held off on raising prices, but soon they're going to have to raise prices. What is the White House's message to them?
The White House's message to our small business owners across the country is you have never had a better ally or friend or supporter in this White House than President Donald Trump, who is a businessman himself, who understands your concerns and who wants to restore wealth back to our country through the powerful use of tariffs, and that's what he's focused on doing, while simultaneously driving down costs. You have to remember, we are 6 months into this administration, and we had a president who had no business experience, had no idea what he was doing, and who funneled billions of wasteful spending dollars into our economy, which created the worst inflation crisis in a generation. Now this president is focused on tackling inflation, deregulating, cutting costs, cutting red tape to make it easier for small business owners to thrive. And again, the economic indicators show that we are moving in the right direction. In January, when this president showed up to the White House, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate was 3.7%. Today, 6 months later, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate is 2.4%. So we are trending in the right direction. Moving forward, since President Trump took office, for another 6 months, inflation will be tracking at 1.9% at this trajectory. You look at grocery prices, they fell, energy prices fell, fuel oil fell, ship fares fell, propane fell, butter, margarine, eggs, non-prescription drugs. You go through the list of items that are falling. And then I would also point to that report this morning showing that small business optimism has reached a 5-month high. So look, we inherited an economic mess from the previous administration, but this administration is focused on fixing it every day. And part of that is signing the largest tax cuts into law to put more money back into the pockets of these small business owners.
Does everyone here realize that American consumers are the ones who are ultimately paying for tariffs? Dear United States media, I feel like I've done a pretty good job in my previous videos explaining how the tariffs on other countries are actually paid by American citizens. For example, I am a U.S. veteran-owned, small, family-owned business that has to have my products made overseas for a multitude of reasons, which I'm happy to explain again. I am the one who pays the tariffs. The importer of record is the one who pays the tariffs. If anyone in the media wants to reference what Ford put out this week, they have lost many, many millions, almost $1 billion this year, because they have to import their parts from other countries. So while Ford makes vehicles in the US, they do it making the vehicles with parts from other countries. The tariffs are paid by Ford, the US importer of record. Businesses in America, small businesses, large businesses alike, need the media's help to explain to the average American that these tariffs are not paid by the foreign countries, they are paid by the importer of record. So if anyone watching this wants to help me get the word out to the media to share with the American public how tariffs actually work, please tag the media in the comments below. If you know someone in the media, tell them to look at some of the videos in my feed. We have to start educating regular Americans about how tariffs work. If you need examples, you can reference a company called Babylist. They are the #1 resource in the country for new families. They have been tracking the prices of baby products, over 3,000 of them since March. Across the board, prices of the baby products consumers go to buy right now for their babies have gone up 16% across the board. So, to answer everyone's question, why don't you just make them in America now? Move your manufacturing here. If bringing manufacturing back to the US is the goal, why are companies like Apple and Microsoft, who are most likely able to bring manufacturing back to the US, off the hook? I get that if we don't let them continue to manufacture in China and exempt them from the tariffs, that our cell phones and computers, which we all use, are going to get ridiculously expensive. I get it. But the latest manufacturing that was done in the US that we were good at was tech manufacturing. And those companies moved their manufacturing to China. They have the biggest pocketbooks. They have the most likely ability to bring that manufacturing back to the US. I'm a small business. I invented a placemat. This is my prototype. I cut and glued this together. I made a product that stops babies from dropping and throwing their toys. It's a placemat. This is the real one. Suction cups on the bottom. Comes with little toy straps that allow you to attach toys so babies can't drop them and throw them on the ground. When my son was born, I had no idea how to turn it into a real thing. I was just a mom. I had a corporate job. I made one for a friend and she forgot it one night and she's like, oh my God, it was the worst not having it. I didn't realize how useful it was until I didn't have it. You need to make that for real. And I thought, wow, how would I do that? So I found a product developer who had the expertise to help me design the product for manufacturing. And that American product developer also had a team in China to help me start manufacturing. The reason I could not start my manufacturing in the US is because I am a small business. I cannot afford to make 20,000 units. The reason US manufacturers require such high production runs is because they have to import the raw material. The raw material does not exist in the US. And so they have to import that material in volumes that are big enough to bring down the costs. They also need the company they are manufacturing for to produce large amounts, because every time you switch out the machinery in a production line, you're not making money. It's downtime. So the factories in the US that have very high labor fees, that have very high expenses, they need to make product continually to be able to pay their bills. Totally understand that. So to start my business, we started in China, where they were willing to do very small production runs for us. Because when I invented this and I invested my own money into starting this company, I didn't know if people were actually going to buy it. I didn't know if it was actually, I thought it was a good idea, but I didn't know if other parents would want to buy it. Okay, turns out they have. Cool. So now fast forward 8 years and I have products sitting in China ready to come. In my warehouse outside, I have about 2 to 3 months of inventory. When that is gone, I have no more inventory to sell. So then I have to figure out, how am I going to pay my employees, pay my insurance, pay my lease when I don't have any revenue coming in? I have 3 months more product that's ready to ship to the US. However, it's going to cost me, what are we up to now? Let's see, we're up to $229,000 I have to come up with in 30 days just to get it across the border. On top of the cost I've already paid for that product. I own the product. But just to get it across the border. that cost, I have to increase my prices. I have to more than double my prices. I'm selling products to people with babies. They're trying to keep up with so many new expenses in their life, diapers, some getting formula, baby clothes, all the things you have to buy and carry around with you for a baby. While my products are great for baby's development and they make life so much easier as a parent, you don't need them to raise a baby. People are not going to pay double the price for my products. So I can't import them right now, but I also can't run out of money. All right. If I found a factory today that was willing to do this, that had the right equipment, that had the right raw material, who had time, because these factories are already booked. The factories in the US are working hard. They're not just sitting around waiting for new companies to come in.